Hey guys, Jonah here. Welcome to this course in the Boogie Woogie Mastery courses where we're going to cover hand independence. Alright? As you know, and as you've probably been noticing as you've been progressing on your journey, hand independence is easily, by far, the hardest part to really get right and not struggle with it so much. And in this video course, we're going to cover the best exercise for beginners to level up their hand independence. The best exercise to practice with, to put inside of your daily practice, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just focusing on this exercise that we're going to cover now. And this is the best exercise for beginners to do to really speed up the process of mastering hand independence. Okay? And of course, this is one of the 3 main factors to make progress, the hand independence, overcoming that. So this is not an easy, quick fix solution. But once you mastered hand independence with one baseline, just one, with some basic exercises, you can apply it to the rest of your journey. And from that point on, your learning experience and learning new stuff in Boogie Woogie and progressing will be much quicker. Remember, it's that exponential growth graph where it's like this, and then at some point it starts shooting up when you're comfortable with the hand independence, and then you're really free on the keys, you're impressive, and so on, with Boogie Woogie, which is all of our goals. So by now you can play the left hand, you've learned the left hand a little bit, and you can play a basic chord. All right, if you remember, we learned this C6 chord and the basic Boogie Woogie left hand, right? And from this basic Boogie Woogie left hand and right hand chord, we're gonna build this beautiful exercise, all right? So the left hand and bass line, you learned it with the swing rhythm. So you learned to play the left hand, the chord, you learned to play the chord on the 1 and on the and after 3, which is a great hand independence exercise in and of itself. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? You might have already also learned this in F. And in G. Okay, now that in and of itself is a great exercise to do because the rhythm in the right hand and the left hand are difficult to get together. So by doing that, you're practicing your hand independence, But there's the same thing here on the right hand. We can change up the rhythm a lot. We can play it in quarter notes. We can play it in whole notes. We can play it in eighth notes. And we can play it in triplets and even 16th notes. Now, what do I mean by this? So I'm quickly going to demonstrate what I mean by this, and then we're going to work on that. But before I do that, we can simplify those chords on the right hand to practice hand independence with. I'm going to show you that. And we can also simplify the left hand to practice hand independence with as well. So by simplifying the left hand, instead of playing the full bass line, what we're going to do through these exercises, we're going to do 2 versions, is we're going to just play the C key in a swing rhythm. Just the C key. All right? Just this key. That would sound something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right? So you're just hitting the C key on each 1 and, so each 8th note, right? Boom. Ba dum on each ba and on each dum, just how you've been playing the left hand as well. You're hitting also the right keys on each 8th note, but we're just going to use the C key, all right? And that's going to be the first exercise that we're going to do to practice the hand independence with the right hand chords. So do that first, just playing that C key in a swing rhythm. So you're counting the 1 and 2 and 3, just how you've learned, but you're just playing the C. So do that with me. For just a few bars. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right? You can get comfortable with that. Maybe just rewind that part and practice it on your own. So that's what we're working with first. Now, the right hand, this is where the exercise comes in. Instead of playing the chord, the C6 chord, on the 1 and on the 3 and, we're gonna do a bunch of variations with that C swing rhythm, all right? The first variation is just going to be playing it on each whole note. So once per bar on the very beginning. This is the easiest, even easier than what you learned in the first video course. That's what we're gonna do first. It's gonna sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So on each 1, 3 and 4. So on each one you're playing the C6 chord instead of playing it twice per bar on the 1 and on the and after 3. All right? And that's the first one. So if you're really struggling with the hand independence, this is the easiest way to level it up. It's the easiest version of this exercise, even easier than the rhythm we learned in the first course, right? With the 3 and on the right hand. So if you really need it, practice just this simple exercise now, okay? If you don't remember how it sounds, just rewind that part I just played. Now, the next exercise that's a little harder is going to be playing the right hand C6 chord on each half note. So a half note is 2 beats long, okay? So we have 4 beats in each bar because we're counting the and in between, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And a half note is going to be on the 1, the 2 is empty, and then on the 3 again. Right? So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's a half note, the length of the C6 chord. All right? But in the left hand, this is already going to be more challenging. You're playing each 8th note. So the 1 and the and then the 2 and the and. On the right hand, you're only playing the 1 and the 3. Okay? And that's what makes the hand independence here challenging, but it's a good exercise. So we're going to practice that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. All right. So that's 2 versions so far. We had it just on the 1 of each bar. Now we just had the right hand chord on the 1 and on the 3. So now you can play 3 versions, and you have 3 versions already to practice your hand independence with. Okay? So the first version you already know on the 3 and, on the and after 3. Then the whole note version, and then the half note version. All right. That's already a great set of exercises. So if you're really struggling, just use these 3 for now. All right, and then come back to this lesson. And now we're going to go into the more advanced ones to level up your hand independence. But we have to build up. Remember, guys, you know, we have to start slow. That's why we just started with the chords and the bass line, the most foundational foundations. And now even the hand independence exercises, we have to start them very basic and slow. So you build your way up, and when your hand independence is a little better, you can do the more advanced exercises. So just take those 3 for now, practice with them if you're really struggling with it hard, if you're really, really struggling with it. If you are not a complete, total beginner now, then we're gonna move on to the next ones. And of course you can also practice all of these, and that's what I would recommend, all right? So the next one is going to be each quarter note. So we had the whole note, then we have the half notes, now we have the quarter notes. The quarter notes are each beat, each individual beat. So 1, 2, 3, and the 4. Okay? Each of those beats is 1 quarter note. We're not playing the and in between with the right hand, because those would be eighth notes, but we're doing that with the left hand, remember. That's what creates the hand independence issue, because you're playing different rhythms with both hands. So on the 1, on the 2, on the 3, and on the 4, and on the left hand, you're still playing that C swing rhythm, right? And 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, we're gonna do that quickly together. 4 bars again, very slow. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. All right. Great job. Use that exercise too. Play that right now. Rewind that part a few times to play with me, and then also do it solo. So those were quarter notes. Next, we're going to do eighth notes. This is going to be a kind of an easy one, but you have to slow down a lot. Because now you're playing the hands together. Because, you know, remember, left hand is playing each eighth note, so the 1 and all the ands, and the 2 and all the and, right? And now your right hand is going to do the same thing. So 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, right? So it's the same rhythm for both hands. Let's go. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. All right. Great. Now practice that as well. You're gonna see it's a little weird. It's gonna be a little off. And when you've done that, if you're ready, you know, if not, like I said, depends on where you're at. If you're a total hand independence newbie, don't do the next exercise yet, because you're gonna be frustrated, you know, because it won't work. But if you feel like you need a challenge, you're gonna take it to the next level. You've been practicing the other ones, or you can already play a few advanced things, and you're learning maybe the first riff, and you're already putting that on the left hand through the bass line. Then I think this one is really gonna elevate your hand independence as an exercise, because we're gonna play triplets now. Triplets are, this is best explained by showing. So on the 1, you're starting, and then you're going to play 3, the C6 chord 3 times. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So in each quarter note, in the 1, instead of the 2, instead of the 3, and instead of the 4 is going to be 3 C6 chords. 1 and 2, 1, right? 1 and 2 and 4. One and 2. So inside of, so it's gonna sound like that. And 2, right? 1 and 2. So it's gonna sound like this. So you're playing 3 C6 chords from the rhythm instead of each quarter note. So instead of the 1, there's 3 C6 chords. Instead of the 2, there's 3 C6 chords instead of the 3 and instead of the 4. So the quarter notes, you're playing 3 C6 chords fit into each quarter note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, right? 2, 3, 4. And now the hard aspect about this is in the left hand, of course, you're not only playing the quarter notes, you're also playing the ands in between. So what you have to do is you have to play the 1, and the last of the 3 C6 chords comes on the and of the left hand. Right? So you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay? So the 1, you start 1, 2, that's two C6 chords, and then the and, you're playing together again. And then you're on the 2, right? 1 and 2. So basically there's one C6 chord without anything on the left hand. The other 2 are together. The first one is together with the 1. Then there's one in between. And then on the left hand and on the right hand you're playing the and 2. And then you're on the 2, right? So we're gonna do that super slow. This one we're gonna do for 8 bars. Alright, so you get it in your ear, you can practice along with it, you can make some mistakes and readjust. And the best way to practice this, by the way, is just to play along with me and try to get the rhythm by listening, right? You know, counting, hearing me count, to put the video on and play along with me and, you know, try to match my rhythm by listening and repeating while the video is running, right? That's gonna be really good to practice this. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but that's why this is an exercise, because the harder they are, you know, the more they're going to bring you forward. So let's get that going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Third bar. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 4 more bars. And 1 and 2 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Last bar. And 2 and 3 and 4. Great. Fantastic job. So repeat that video section, practice it until you can do it on your own. The goal is for you to have this exercise so you can implement it on your own. Ideally it sounds like this. Giving that swing rhythm. Okay, fantastic job. That's one of the best hand independence exercises because you have it all. You have the hands together on the one and on the and then you have also one chord in between any key on the left hand. You have to put it in there. It has to fit the timing. Makes it really challenging, but it's a great exercise. All right. So those are the best exercises, very basic, not even playing the left hand bass line, just the C as a key, but you have to do the swing rhythm, of course, with these different rhythms on the right hand. Okay, you have all of these now. You have the chapters in the video section on the video bar. You can see that. You can skip between. Now, before we move on, just practice maybe 3 of these or all of them, but not at the same time. And you know, choose maybe the easier ones first to work with for a few practice sessions, and then the harder ones here, like the quarter notes, the triplets, and the eighth notes. All right. And then, you know, how you're going to practice these is how I just said, you know, just choosing one of them, maybe the very start, doing that for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You know, the first one, the easy one with the whole notes on the one of each bar with that swing rhythm. Because even just doing that for 2 minutes is very efficient practice. It's very boring, but it's very efficient practice to get your hand independence up. Okay, then you're going to do the other one. If you still have time and mental capacity, you're going to do the other one. So the half notes, for example, for another like 3 minutes. And then maybe you spend 5 minutes on the eighth note one or the quarter note one, or you do the eighth note one first and then the quarter note one, right? So that's how you should practice these. Don't mix them yet. Just choose which one you're going to do and do that for a few minutes on the piano each practice session. You should prioritize this in your practicing, because getting the hand independence, as you know, will make all of your other practice faster, saving you time in the long run, right? And also giving you more fun and enjoyment. So a few minutes each practice session, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, mix and match these. And especially the triplet one is the most effective if you can manage it. If not, work your way up, okay? And then at some point, when you practice these for a few days, maybe a week, however long you might need, you can start to combine them. I'll show you how that sounds. So we're gonna start from the beginning to the end, and then from the end to the beginning. You'll see what I mean. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. That's the first exercise here. Now the second. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Half notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Now quarter notes. 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Now eighth notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and now triplets. Now back to eighth notes. So I'm going going back. Back to quarter notes. Now half notes. 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now whole notes. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Great. Saw that? So I went from the very first one all the way to the triplets, back to the first one. And this is incredible to really work on your hand independence. So your goal right now, Boogie Woogie Mastery student, is to get to that level where you can play all of them but slow down, right? Doesn't have to be my tempo. It doesn't matter what tempo it is, but it has to be in a tempo where you can play them, okay? And this will take a week, maybe a few days, a week, longer, because you first have to do them, how I said, choose like 1 or 2 to ingrain for a few practice sessions, the easier ones, then move your way up, choose the next ones, and practice with them separately. And then you can combine it all into one exercise, one big exercise, going from the start, staying on each of them for 2 bars is a good amount in my opinion. So 2 bars each rhythm on the right hand, keeping the same left hand, and then going backwards. It's really gonna make you concentrate like you've never concentrated on the piano before, and that's what we want, right? Because you're even trying to remember, well, wait, which one comes now? And then you have to pause for a second, then, oh yeah, now come the quarter notes, you know, when you're going backwards. And doing that trains your hand independence, because you're thinking about something while trying to play and getting back into it, you know? And of course you just have all these different rhythms on the right hand with the swing rhythm bass line. So that's your goal here, to combine all of these, to learn these good enough to put them into one big nice exercise, and then you can do that exercise 5 minutes a day, and a few days from then, a week from then, your hand independence issue might really genuinely be solved once and for all. Imagine how beautiful that will be. Because I know that right now you're struggling most with your hand independence. And that's normal. We all go through this. I also needed months, because I didn't have this help that I'm giving you here. So I needed months, even with my classical training, months to just develop the hand independence, right? But once I had my mentors who gave me help, it was a matter of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just by doing the right exercises, and then I finally had it. And then everything else was easier, right? And imagine how awesome that's going to be when you have that freedom, the hand independence is coming, and you're really feeling that. Like imagine really feeling that moment of being on the piano and playing maybe the first riff with the bass line and feeling free and not being so stiff on it, and not having to think about every single note and how they go together. You know, it's kind of independent of each other, you know? Imagine how awesome. That's going to be so cool, and I'm so happy if you reach that. So practice that. And now we have one more layer to this, because of course, this is the exercise, right? But with the left hand, you can also play the bass line. And this will be the next step. You don't necessarily have to do this yet, or at all. Even just this is the best exercise for beginners. But I'm just going to demonstrate this. So all of the rhythms that we had here, right, with these, with the right hand, we can change the basic C. We can change it to the normal bass line, because the rhythm is the same. That's why we learned the C. It's on each eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3. But instead of just the C, you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So I'm gonna play through the bass line with the exercises here, but not in individual each one of them, just from the beginning to end, and then from the end backwards for 2 bars each. so you just know how that looks and how that sounds. But just starting with the C is great, because then your hand independence is already great, and then you can really put the bass line on this rhythm pretty automatically. All right. So we're gonna do that on C first, and then I'm gonna show you one last final hand independence exercise. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Right, that's 4 bars. Now next, half notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. I missed one there. Now quarter notes, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2. I catch myself sometimes thinking about something else and then I mess up. You see how hard it is? Alright, now triplets. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And then you could even do 16th notes. I'll show you. Go back to the 8th notes. Previous to the triplets. 2 more bars, so we have 4 again. Now back to the quarter notes. Half notes, do 2 bars, 3. Now the whole notes, easiest one. I mean, at this point you could skip the whole notes. If you're at this point where you're already doing the bass line with these rhythms, you can skip the whole notes. They're not that, because then you're already advanced with your hand independence, so it's not going to be an efficient exercise to put your time into, right? Because you want always to be challenged by the exercises. Great, so that was that. That's the advanced version. So instead of just the C, you do the whole thing in the bass line. And now, one last version is just doing that through the 12-bar blues progression, okay? So you can basically use you can use one exercise, or for example, the 8th notes you could use for the whole 12-bar blues progression, right? 4 bars on C, and then you move on to F. You use the F chord and the bass line on F. So you could do this. And this is really fun as well. Do it like that. Then you choose the triplets, right? And then you go on to the F. Play through the 12-bar blues progression. I'm not going to do that. It's going to take too much time, Just with each of the chords that you've learned or are going to still learn in the course, depending on where you're at. But that's very advanced. But if you need that, if you need more challenge, if it's too easy and you want to get to the next level, then do that. But start, how I talked about in this lesson, and work your way up. All right. And also you can play the triplets on the C for 4 bars. Then you can play the quarter notes on the F for 2 bars. Then you can go back to the C and you can play the eighth notes for 2 bars. That's the ultimate exercise. So you can go like this. Right, I'm on the C, I'm doing triplets. For like 4 bars I'm deciding. And then on the F I'm gonna do quarter notes. Changing that up is gonna be so good for your hand independence. Now eighth notes, and on the G I'm gonna do half notes. I missed it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. So that's really a great goal to get to, and even that sounds awesome too, so you can put that into your improvisations, because all we're doing when we're improvising with chords, like how we play, right? We're just using a lot of different rhythms to put the chords on. You're also learning that in the courses, of course, like chord rhythms to sound really nice. Right? Different chord rhythms. So that's also a great thing that you're going to reach by just learning this hand independence with this exercise. Now, this is the most important course video to really take serious and do these exercises and work through this course video multiple times for the sections you need. It's very long because we covered 3 levels. Some of you are going to be at the beginning one with just the C and the exercises with the rhythm. Some of you are going to be on the bass line with the bass line C with the exercises with the rhythm on the right hand. And some of you are going to be on the bass line with the exercises through the 12-bar blues progression. But for each of these, the goal is first going to be to practice them separately and then combine them and go from that beginning, the first one, just the whole notes and the half notes, then the quarter notes and the eighth notes and the triplets, and then from the triplets back to the eighth notes, then back to the quarter notes, then the half notes, then the whole notes. That's the goal for each of these levels. All right. So until you can't do that with the first level, you have to start with the first level before you move on, right? Because I don't want you frustrated or demotivated. Okay. So great job. Very, very strenuous lesson, really great, but such an important one, and practice with this. Hand independence is the biggest problem we're all facing, and everyone who's great, who you look up to, has struggled with this in the beginning. Just know that, and it's not easy to overcome just like by snapping a finger. So you got to put in the work here, but now you have the best exercise to work with. You have everything you need to level that up and reach all your goals above that horizon, of playing very freely, improvising and impressing everyone with your freedom on the piano. It comes with the hand independence. Right, so then, take care, happy practicing, and I'll see you one of our lessons or in another course module.